In June 1994, the peacefulness of Brentwood, Los Angeles was disrupted by a crime that would captivate the entire country and permanently change the lives of numerous individuals. Officers and detectives moved purposefully, photographing and examining the crime scene outside the condominium of Nicole Brown Simpson. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman's murder case is still one of the most contentious and consequential in American legal history. Even though it has been 30 years since the murders, O.J. Simpson, who was 76 years old when he died from prostate cancer in April 2024, had been found guilty in a subsequent civil trial despite being acquitted of criminal charges in 1995. The killings prompted the infamous trial of former NFL star and actor O.J. Simpson. Thus, let us travel through time today to discover more about this case and what transpired that day. Nicole Brown Simpson was brutally murdered outside of Nicole's home in Brentwood, Los Angeles, on the evening of June 12, 1994. Ronald Goldman was also a victim of the same crime. When Nicole Simpson, who had previously been married to O.J. Simpson, was discovered lying in a pool of blood in a fetal position, she had several stab wounds to her head and neck, a pair of sunglasses that Nicole had left at the restaurant where Ronald Goldman worked. So, that day he came to return those sunglasses, but unfortunately he was also discovered stabbed to death close to Nicole's body. A neighbor was the one who made the discovery of the murders. The neighbor spotted Nicole's dog running around with blood on its paws and eventually tracked the dog to the location where the murders had occurred. O.J. Simpson, who had a history of domestic abuse against Nicole, was the primary focus of the inquiry, which was rapidly directed towards him when the police were called. A bloody glove, footprints, and blood drips that matched Simpson's DNA were among the pieces of evidence that were recovered at the scene. Simpson, a former NFL star, was eventually charged with the murders. His trial, which began in January 1995, became a media sensation, often referred to as the trial of the century. The defense team, famously known as the Dream Team, included high-profile attorneys such as Robert Shapiro, Johnny Cochran, and F. Lee Bailey. The trial was marked by intense scrutiny of the evidence, racial tensions, and dramatic courtroom moments, including the infamous glove demonstration where Simpson struggled to fit into a blood-stained glove found at the crime scene. It is safe to say that the trials of O.J. Simpson were among the most well-known and closely watched legal processes in the history of the United States. These trials were marked by spectacular courtroom scenes and enormous public interest. The criminal trial, 1995, Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, and Ronald Goldman, her friend, were both found dead, and O.J. Simpson was charged with their murders. It is well known that he gave himself up to the authorities after leading them on a low-speed chase in a white Ford Bronco. All of the DNA evidence that linked Simpson to the crime scene had been provided by the prosecution, which was led by Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden. This evidence included blood drops, hair, and fiber analysis. Additionally, they brought attention to Simpson's history of verbal and physical abuse directed towards Nicole Brown Simpson. When O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson were married, there was a documented history of domestic violence between the two of them. In addition to the numerous instances in which Nicole had filed allegations of abuse, there were also numerous situations in which the police were summoned to their residence owing to domestic disturbances. This background, according to the prosecution's argument, established a pattern of violence and control being demonstrated. In addition, the prosecution made the argument that O.J. Simpson was envious and angry about Nicole's relationships and her attempts to move on with her life. They argued that the brutal murders were the result of the jealousy and rage that has been going on. In addition, the DNA evidence presented by the prosecution was compelling. However, the defense raised questions about how it was handled and the legitimacy of the methods followed by the Los Angeles Police Department. The defense team for Simpson, which was referred to as the Dream Team, consisted of prominent attorneys such as Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, and F. Lee Bailey. Their argument was that the evidence was tainted and may be planted by a racist member of the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD. They focused their attention specifically on Detective Mark Furman, who had a history of making racist remarks. Simpson's attempt to put on a glove that had been found at the scene of the crime, which was stained with blood, is one of the most unforgettable moments. The glove appeared to be too tiny, which prompted Cochran to make the famous remark, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." On October 3, 1995, Simpson was found not guilty of any of the allegations against him following a highly publicized trial. The civil trial took place 2 years later in 1997. The families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman have filed a lawsuit against Simpson, alleging that he was responsible for their deaths. Preponderance of the evidence, rather than beyond a reasonable doubt, was the standard of proof that was used in the civil trial compared to the criminal trial. For the most part, the jury was presented with the same evidence that was presented in the criminal trial. This included the DNA evidence as well as statements regarding Simpson's abusive behavior. The verdict of the jury, which was handed down in February 1997, was that Simpson was responsible for the killings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. The families got damages totaling $33.5 million, and he was ordered to pay them. These trials, particularly the criminal one, had a long-lasting impact on the legal and cultural landscape of the United States. They influenced everything from the media coverage of high-profile cases to discussions about race and justice in the United States. On October 3, 1995, the jury decided not to convict Simpson despite the substantial amount of evidence that was given by the prosecution. This evidence included DNA matches and Simpson's previously documented history of domestic violence. Simpson was judged to be responsible for the tragic deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman in a civil trial that took place in 1997. As a result of this, Simpson was forced to pay $33.5 million in damages to the families of the victims. The O.J. Simpson's case continues to be a subject of public fascination and controversy, particularly with relation to issues including race, the power of celebrities, and the legal system in the United States. The public's interest in the case has been rekindled as a result of the disclosure of hundreds of pages from the investigation conducted by the FBI. The infamous Bruno Magli shoes that left bloody footprints at the site are described in these documents, which cover the significant efforts that were made to establish a connection between Simpson and the crime. The molds from the shoe manufacturer were even collected by investigators who traveled all the way to Italy in order to match the prints. In the way that it influenced the way in which the media covered high-profile cases and continues to encourage conversations about racism, celebrity, and justice in the United States, the case will leave a legacy that will remain. The trial of O.J. Simpson continues to be a defining moment in the public awareness, particularly since it brought to light the intricacies and divisions that exist within the American legal and social landscape. In spite of the fact that O.J. Simpson has always maintained his innocence, the exact intentions, if he was in fact the perpetrator, continue to be a matter of speculation based on the information that is currently accessible and the arguments that were offered throughout the trials. A disturbing reminder of the complexity of justice, the impact of domestic violence, and the never-ending search for truth, the O.J. Simpson case remains to be a case that continues to haunt. Comment below with your opinion regarding the heinous case and let us know what your take is on this case. Do you think O.J. killed his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman? Or he was intentionally framed in this case? Write your view about this case in the comments section.